He's a renegade, a hero, a guardian. He's
a jerk.
No, stop. He's not a jerk. He's an icon. He's
pompous, bullheaded, full of himself.
No, okay, he is those things, but he's cool, caring, smooth. He's Star-Lord.
Who?
So allow us to play Mary Shelley for a moment because we're going to take pieces from each version and stitch them together as we build the best Star-Lord.
All right, first things first, where'd this guy come from?
Good question. Okay, first up, let's talk comic book origins.
Which version?
Huh?
Are we talking 1976, Englehart and Gans Star-Lord, 80s Claremont and Burns Star-Lord, 2014 retcon?
Why don't we just stick to current canon?
Sure, if you want to be basic about it.
In the Marvel 616 universe, Peter Quill is the son of an alien emperor named Jason of the planet Spartax. Jason was shot down in an interstellar war, crash landing on Earth, where he met human woman Meredith Quill. They fell in love and...
Yada, yada, yada. Maybe we don't show that next part.
Fair enough. After he had his ship fixed, Jason had to get back to the fight, and he couldn't take Meredith into a war zone, so he left her to raise their son on Earth. A few years after he left, 2 soldiers of the Badoon showed up on Earth in pursuit of Jason.
Oh no, this is gonna be tragic.
They attempted to kill Quill because he was the heir to the Spartax throne and the title of Star-Lord. They ended up killing Meredith instead. Peter fought back and in the process discovered the element gun his father had left him.
So, wait, the gun shoots elements? If this involves the periodic table, I'm gonna need the test to be open book.
We'll get to that in the weapons section, but suffice it to say, Peter was left an orphan.
So how does he get to space?
Long story short, he joins NASA as a mechanic, but after an argument with an astronaut over how to use a Kree warp drive, he
stole NASA's ship, didn't he?
Pretty much. So he becomes the first Earth pilot to engage warp, but quickly gets himself stranded in space. That's where he meets Yondu and gets taken in by the Ravagers.
Okay, so that's the comics, but in the movie it all starts when Meredith dies of cancer, later revealed to have been caused by Quill's dad, who is not Jason, but Ego, the living planet.
Right. In the MCU version, Quill is not half Spartoid, but half Celestial, aka immensely powerful, immortal cosmic being. Ego hired the Ravagers to kidnap Quill from Earth, but Yondu took Quill in and raised him to be an elite space pirate instead of delivering him to his dad.
Much simpler.
Well, limited shooting time, fewer retcons.
Makes sense, but what about the video game?
Video game Peter starts out similar to comic Peter. His mom gives him the element guns from his kingly father, but he's immediately attacked by the Chitauri, who kill Meredith before capturing and imprisoning Peter. Eventually, he gets a new cellmate, Yondu, who helps him break out of prison and inducts Peter into the Ravagers. Years later, he's a mercenary named Star-Lord, leading the Guardians of the Galaxy.
No dad stuff?
Oh, this game's full of daddy issues, but seems like they're saving the big daddy reveals for the sequel. Anyway, it's time to pick the best origin story for our Star-Lord.
For sure the movie version.
Oh, okay. Why?
I just think his mom dying of something very normal and earthbound rather than being, taken out by aliens gives Star-Lord more pathos. I mean, when we see Peter's regret for not taking his dying mom's hand and it's played against him finally being able to reach out and accept the love from his teammates, it just makes my heart warm.
I mean, empathy is great, but the cancer isn't what pushed him into his role as a guardian. That was the kidnapping, which isn't exactly active.
True, but if you need a mustache-twirling villain for Peter to punish for Meredith's death, it shouldn't be some random Chitauri or Badoon. It should be somebody really powerful.
Which is what Peter gets when he and his team have to destroy Ego in Volume 2's big climactic battle.
Case in point. So our Star-Lord will have the movie version's origin.
The movie version's personality is, at this point, legendary. He's supremely confident, yet deeply insecure. Brave, yet foolhardy.
Foolhardy?
We don't use that word enough anymore. As in, it would be foolhardy to disagree with this point.
Okay, calm down. I think this category is difficult to judge because didn't the movie version retroactively influence the comics?
Well, you're not wrong. It is a bit of a snake eating its own tail situation, but the comic version has some unique quirks. The game and comic versions both have a translator implant, but the comic version took it a step further and willingly got an eye implant and another cybernetic enhancement that gave him perfect recall of every moment of his life.
Oof, the movie version is not getting that enhancement. He's got way too many bad memories that probably play on loop in his unenhanced head. And he hasn't reached Volume 3 yet.
I'll concede that he's much more of a proactive hero in most of his comics history, joining the fight because he wants to help, not just for the cash. However, in the Annihilation and Secret Invasion storylines, he basically forces the Guardians to work together. In fact, when he first took over the team, he had Mantis empathically influence them to follow him.
Not a great look.
Strong argument for the movie or video game version is that the Guardians follow him because he bound them together as a team. Video game Star-Lord even gives them fighting bonuses with his game time huddles. Now that is true leadership.
Or is it just because he has those cool element guns? The ones that shoot element skateboards?
Again, we'll get to that part in the next section.
Ugh, fine. But you have to acknowledge that the Guardians in the movie are kind of self-centered and put together by accident. I kind of like a hero who's actively trying to save people as his main thing, not a side project.
Well, the video game take
Seems even more motivated by money. The game Guardians are basically profiteers trying to turn the fallout from a war with the Chitauri into a business opportunity. And if they can't earn money on their missions, they don't seem to see the point.
But is comic book Peter any better?
Comic book Peter does date and get engaged to Kitty Pryde of the X-Men, and if comic book Peter Quill is good enough to earn the love of Kate Pryde, well, I think I rest my case.
Didn't she dump him like a couple times?
Yeah, but mainly just so the writers could have her get back together with Pyotr Rasputin, aka Colossus, and we're not building the best Peter. That's a different episode.
Okay, Kitty Pryde is always a good argument. And even though I'm still iffy on all the mind control stuff, they were at war and he thought it served the greater good. And his comics personality is pretty close to his movie characters these days, so I can live with our Star-Lord having his comics personality. Okay, time to discuss powers and gear.
Is this where I find out what those element guns do? They retired the Honda element, so it's not that, right?
The element gun is a special weapon keyed to Peter's DNA. It's called the element gun because it can shoot ice, fire, wind, lightning, and even earth.
Pretty useful spread.
However, movie Peter's guns are just two quad blasters. They've been seen to fire lightning, but none of the other elements. More recently in the comics, Peter added a second gun and changed the design to mimic the movie's quad blaster. The video game Star-Lord has pretty much taken on that redesigned version, but added the fact that they shapeshift as they fire different elements.
So the movie's a clear loser, but tie between game and comics.
Yeah, but let's look at his ship. In the comics, he starts out with a ship named simply Ship, but this craft was a sentient being who could take on the form of a woman.
Is Peter about to weird science this? Because I will leave.
Ship was pretty OP, though. It could do everything a bleeding-edge starship could do, while also being able to shapeshift and siphon or manipulate the energy of living organisms. It unfortunately was destroyed in a battle with a cosmic villain called the Fallen.
Maybe having a Ravager ship named after Alyssa Milano is enough.
Oh, I just got that.
Glad I could help.
You know, a lot of the gear is the same across all versions. Helmet, rocket, boots, dual blasters, and yeah, I know, comic book Star-Lord recently became the Master of the Sun, went to Olympus, dipped his guns in the essence of the gods, you know, classic comic shenanigans. I get it, I respect it, but we all know comics, and Star-Lord isn't gonna remain that powerful. He'll eventually go back to being a plucky dude with blasters. That being the case, I think I know which Star-Lord wins the gear contest.
Lay it on me.
It comes down to one thing. Video game Star-Lord has the dopest threads. Just look at these outfits. Look at that jacket and the back that says Star-Lord in that sick-ass font from the band. And look at those pins, the popped collar, the torn layers of shirt. A true thing of beauty.
I mean, there is no argument. I even like his haircut. Oh, no, I mean this one. If anything is going to cause you to grow up into a true selfless hero, it's growing up with that on your head.
I think we've done it. Our indisputably most perfect Star-Lord has the origin from the movies, which is just a flawless execution of an underdog story.
And the much deeper, strong leader personality from the comic books.
And finally, the video game's powerful gear with looks that both figuratively and literally slay.
We have truly built
the best Star-Lord. Thanks for watching. Please yell at us about how we're wrong in the comments. We can't actually hear you on account of the headphones and our sweet playlists of 70s and 80s rock hits, but by all means, scream into the void.
Boom.
Of course, this whole thing is moot because the best version of Star-Lord already exists in one place.
Who, me? I am just an ordinary junker. But there is one name you may know me by.
Oh, Star-Lord! I'm a huge fan of your work.
Flarking crew tax, you're right. Don't tell the producers or we're gonna have to start